actually have a question for Cormac, but this can be for everyone. How did you go about your process of finding your co-founders?
We all work together for another company, and we just sort of started the chat. So we worked together, done jobs together. And that was it basically. And then just networking, getting to know them. And it's as simple as that, really. And it was like that was it. We just worked together, done jobs, liked each other, got on. I thought, right, you can trust them as much as you can trust anybody. It's like, well, you have to sort of, it was too much work for us to do individually. So it was just, we fell in. There was 3 of us originally. So I had asked them for 2 of them for feedback, and then they says they'd want to join. So there was 3, 1 dropped off, then there was 2, and then we got another 2 on board then as well. And we just invited them. So when it was the 2 of us, we then invited them to join us and join in, even though it was a few months down the road. But we felt that they had a lot to offer, and they have. That's it basically in a nutshell.
How did you, I guess, delegate the different duties? What were your, like, did you guys sign a contract? How did you exactly go about it?
There is no contract. There is no nothing. So we're 4 independent companies, and it's like a mutually assured destruction. So there's a certain level of investment we all have, and if we don't make it work, well, if one of us doesn't, the rest of us go. So what we did was, when the 4 of us sat down, when it went from the 2 to the 3, the positions changed. So we sat down, and I sat down and says, right, well, you have a typical company was a CEO, like a chief executive officer, whatever you call it, a COO, who's the chief operator, and then we didn't have his chief technology, so we just made chief permaculture officer. And then under each thing, I just wrote a list of jobs that would entail. And then I said to each of the co-founders, who do you think, if you put the 3 people that you think into the correct roles, and the 3 of us came out with the correct roles, it was like identical. So it just worked out that we sort of had it. There was a natural fit there. No contracts, because we all are our own independent companies. It's all mutually beneficial. So you're actually hurting yourself if you don't put in. And if we did write a contract, the contracts are worth nothing, because there's one in Australia, one in France, I'm in Northern Ireland, and the other one's in America. So try suing somebody. It's just not going to happen. The money's all allocated up front. It's like, if we have a product, say it's $1,000, a certain percentage goes to the company, a certain percentage goes, it's all laid out in advance. There's a process in place that if we get a job on, how it works, who delegates it. And so there is processes involved. So everyone's under the understanding. So these are all pre-decided. But in terms of what are they suing, they can't, there's very little money going through. So we're not talking tens of thousands, and nobody's going to run off. And nobody's going to run off with like a couple of $1,000. It's just not worth it. It's just, there's not that money there. And if we did grow, then what we've decided to do, when we reach a certain stage and we can afford it, what we'll do is because we can all be directors in an LLC in the US, each of our companies will own a share of the LLC, and then that becomes the main company. And that's only if we can afford the fees and the lawyers and all that entails, the registration, because once it reaches a certain level of money, then we'll need that protection there. But for the minute, there's the handy Rob. So
nice, thank you.
Dave, do you have your hand up because you're wanting to respond to Shafia's?
Oh no, I was just raising my hand so it was recorded, because I know we were all, like, a bunch of people put their hands up, so I just wanted to make it simpler to manage. So
okay. Cool. Yes, and I have you on my list. Does anyone else want to chime in? I know Sydney, I know that I wasn't here for the last ThinkTank, because Josh was, but I do all the video editing and everything. So I watch all the ThinkTanks. But Sydney actually brought this up about co-founders last month. I think it was last month. Because she was talking about looking for a co-founder. So Sydney, I don't know if you found anyone or found some resources that you think would be helpful? Maybe she has her video and mic off. Maybe later. Did anyone have anything else for this topic of co-founders? Okay, Daniel.
Hi, thanks. So I've been at this for a while and have a number of iterations of my business. But I guess because I've been self-employed since I was in my early 20s, I was an independent commercial photographer, food photographer for like 25 years, and worked in groups all the time, freelancers, artists, things like that. But when I got into permaculture design, I partnered on projects a lot with people and worked with a lot of good people for a fair amount of time. And then, you kind of give people time, and then you learn whether or not you want to continue with them. That's kind of how it basically has worked with me in the past. And partnering with them on projects until basically, I'm good. I'm going to go on to something else with other people. But with United Designers, because I'm an instructor, and United Designers is a teaching organization as much as it's a design organization. We basically do the training for the people that then either we hire or we partner with for our projects. And I was invited to teach in the Netherlands. This is like 2017, and met some great people there. But it really is, the partnership came, and the co-founder, you might say, because now United Designers, we have two co-founders, myself and Verushka Kierkegaard, who is in Amsterdam area. We just worked together and things worked really well. And we also had complementary skills. And basically, it's much like we do with our partnerships for the design projects, permaculture projects, homesteads, things like that, is we come together, we work together, and those people that work together tend to continue to work together on other things, everybody having their specialties or what they do better. And so with us, we worked together in the Netherlands. We talked for months. We worked together first, and then basically it just came to a partnership, and then being basically a co-founder. But I've been on the boards for a number of nonprofits. I've been the president of a nonprofit, of the board of a nonprofit, all those kinds of things. And the whole idea of nonprofits for me personally is kind of turned out kind of a sour taste in my mouth. And a lot of people I know that have started nonprofits had wished they had just stayed a for-profit business, because eventually it just got to be too messy, because you have to have a board and you have to have all these, different people involved, and they lost control of the vision of what they wanted to do. So I'm not sure there's a lot of advice there on how to find a co-founder, but it really is, I think you just start working and doing the work, and you attract the people that want to do that. It's like the intentional communities that I work with. Basically, you have to have a core group of people that do the work, and then you'll attract people that basically like that kind of work or what you're doing. And it's with even the designers that we've had 70 people go through our design course, because we teach ecological design process and also Adobe Illustrator as our platform, along with Google Earth and other things. We're doing that. But out of that 70, only 17 really have we partnered with for many reasons, right? Some that we've worked with and then took a pass on. Other people that are just like, because kind of in ecological design and permaculture in general, we're all kind of independents. We're all kind of that way anyway, right? We're not really tending to join clubs or groups, because we like doing our own thing. But finding people that have a common thought and a common work ethic and a idea of service rather than profit, you might say, although I have a lot to say about profit, very important. The organization has to be viable, and you have to have people that understand that, rather than just basically, we're just going to do good at whatever it costs our lives. That's not really how it really works for me. But I think it's just getting out there, doing the work, and then promoting yourself that way and being visible, and knowing that not everybody is going to work it with you, but you got to give people 5 minutes, then you give them 10 minutes, and then you give them maybe a couple of days, and then you work a project, and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I would second that as well, because there was a lot of particularly permaculture projects where people get together and say, we're going to do these great things, and there's 8 in a group, and it doesn't actually go anywhere. But if you do the work yourself and you see other people doing the work, you tend to bunch together quite well then.
I will throw out in terms of our old branding agency, we had a partner and we started out really united, and then we started not being so united because he wanted to work with a lot of we worked with a lot of companies that were not regenerative at all, and which wasn't the point of the company, but that was like where our passion was. And so we started to kind of like which is why we left and started Seeds of Dow to help the people who are actually doing really good things and helping with their marketing and stuff. But one thing that was super duper helpful for us, and I'll put it in the chat, there was this book called Slicing Pie. And that is a really cool resource if you already have a business and you're taking someone on, or if you're both starting at the same time. Once you find a partner, how to divide up equity, because equity is like a big deal when you're bringing in partners, right? And so Slicing Pie has just really good. We just found like the methodology super solid. They have calculators and stuff in there too, but they make it really easy, but also really fair based on how much work different people are doing. So it really protects you in case it's not a situation where you could work with them sometimes, like if you just had to take them on for a little while. It kind of gives you some ideas there. So that may be of help. Okay, does anyone have any other resources or advice for Shafia? Shafia, do you feel complete a little bit?
I'll just
little bit
add one
more.
more thing, and that
Okay.
is there's a council of nonprofits. I'm from Minnesota originally. And in Minneapolis, there's this organization called the Council for Nonprofits. And they are, and I think it's national, but they were the go-to organization for consulting, assistance, from insurance to, and I took actually board of directors training there many, many years ago. That organization supports organizations, right? That's what they do. And they really help you with all of the legalities. And I think it was like $50 a year. It wasn't very much for all the resources that they had. And they also had an office that you could go to and talk to people. So if there's a nonprofit support organization, I think that's also a great way to learn how to build the structure. And it's like, you know, slicing the pie, right? There's all those kinds of things are many that's out of my box. That's out of my toolbox, right? I can understand the concepts, but that's nothing I've ever had to do before. But you get to learn a lot of these interesting ways of thinking, you might say, and how these formulas work and what is fair, because it's really hard to know how to balance that when you're trying to work with people who are either very creative or, you know, have a lot of energy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.